tuned in to the Cold Hard Truth, Cayman's #1 hard-hitting live podcast show, where we feature some straightforward conversations on political, social, and celebrity news and all things happening in the Cayman Islands and around the world. This show was created to give the people a voice and a means of being involved and informed without any filters. Sometimes it gets crazy, but we always keep it real. We bring you the tea, piping hot, so grab your favorite beverage and join the conversation via WhatsApp at 324-1612. Email tips@CaymanMarlRoad.com. Now, here's your host, Sandy Hill, broadcasting live from the beautiful Cayman Islands.
Owning disco albums.
Interesting. All right. Back in the day,
Yeah, whatever we just Wikipedia that we forgot immediately.
Exactly. All right, it is Blake and Aaron, and the time is 7:25 right now.
Big news. I have some important news for you. Interesting news.
It's Blake and Aaron's Spilling the Tea with Sandy.
Cayman's top news headlines of the day from CMR.
Hello, Sandy. Good morning. Happy Friday.
Morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
How was
How
your
is
day?
everyone? Good. Happy Friday.
Had a press conference yesterday.
Yeah.
Some updated regulations.
Yes, indeed.
Speculated yesterday.
Which is nice.
That's the big news. I think we were pretty much spot on, but lifting of a lot of restrictions. So Cayman is still in phase 5, by the way. I think the Premier wanted to make that abundantly clear that we're not completely free.
How many phases are there?
Sorry?
5.
There's 5 phases. That's what I'm saying.
No, there's 6. There's 6.
Oh, there's 6 phases.
There's phase 5 and then there's reopening.
Oh, okay.
There's welcome back.
so
What does that mean?
Oh,
Right. So some of the major things included not having to quarantine if you're coming in. You're not having to have as many restrictions in place in terms of quarantining, LFT testing. So inter-island traveling, social distancing requirements remain in place, but for events, you have more freedom. 500 persons indoors, 1,000 persons outdoors. So yeah, I mean, it was a welcome. It was definitely a welcome situation. You know, restriction on vaccinated travelers has been lifted.
only between islands, not like, right?
Yeah. So with respect to inter-island travel, unvaccinated travelers have to still do LFT or PCR test, and they have to produce a negative one. So we're kind of going back to where we were before Omicron hit, I think it was, in terms of inter-island travel. So yeah, I think a lot of people have been welcoming this move. We're just inching a little bit closer. Yeah. I think, as we said yesterday, we've been doing it incrementally, so
less hassle for tourists and travelers.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, we got some with it all. Yeah, I mean, we've got some people coming in today, as a matter of fact.
Yes. And they're going to reap all the benefits.
They're going to reap all the benefits starting today.
They definitely luck out.
But they've already got their negative tests, so that's good. All right, awesome. So what else is going on?
So the children's vaccine, as we were anticipating, has safely arrived. So we've got 2,000 doses of that now available for children ages 5 to 11. So I think they're going to be rolling out the actual and scheduling. So just keep an eye on, I would say, local media, the HSA website. We'll put the scheduling up as well. So I think
how does that work? Because that doesn't seem like enough for the island. Are there more coming?
I think they want to see what the uptake will be first. Because, I think on this island, unfortunately, there is a level of vaccine hesitancy. And I think it's even greater when it comes to children. So I'm pretty sure they don't want to waste any vaccines because, people around the world are literally dying for lack of access to the COVID vaccine. So I think they wanted to send a conservative amount first, and then see what the uptake is, and then take it from there.
Cool.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, that's great.
So Amanda's in critical condition after a single vehicular accident yesterday morning. We knew something was going on because even as we were doing this show, everybody's like, traffic is horrendous. What's going on with traffic?
I was going to ask, actually, was it a red car?
Yes.
Okay, I saw
It
it,
looks
on
like
the
from
tow truck. I saw it on the
Yeah.
tow truck go by me. I was like, why is it getting a police escort? And I was like, oh my gosh, it must have been that there was a car wreck in the morning. I knew while we were on the show because people kept
Yeah.
commenting on
Where was the car wreck?
story. It was like the Eastern District.
It was down by Watler's Estates, inching closer to like Lower Valley area.
Okay.
So, yeah.
That
And I
car
think
looked
it ran in the bushes because a lot of people, when they first messaged, were like, okay, I see the police. They have it taped off and everything, but I don't see the car. And so the car was embedded in the
I'm
bushes.
gonna say the car was pretty smashed.
Was it?
So the
Yeah.
person is alive still?
Yeah, he's in critical condition, single male, and he looked pretty banged up as well, to be honest.
I mean, it's how do you mangle, like, what was the, like, that this is just the thing. It's the driving standards. It's you hope he was being safe because I know accidents happen, but more than not, you just see crazy drivers out there and they're going to kill themselves or someone else.
Yeah, normally it's speed or drinking or not paying attention. Wet
But
roads.
it's so early.
Wasn't during rush hour?
No. This was earlier than that because
Oh, it was earlier than that.
Yeah, when someone sent me the photo, it was still pretty dark out. So I'm thinking it was probably before 6 o'clock, even like probably 5:45 to 5:30.
That's still pretty early to,
yeah, it's pretty early in the morning.
Heading home.
But that's the thing, either heading home or maybe trying to beat all the traffic and going way too fast. And
at 6 o'clock,
still
you're
a little
fine
tired.
from East End.
You'd think so.
Yeah.
6 o'clock.
So hopefully he will make a full recovery. We'll certainly wish him well.
Mm-hmm.
And the government has issued the 2022 garbage fee bills. So in case many of you don't know this, there are some people who still have to pay garbage fee. They removed it for residential homes. So a lot of people don't probably remember, but business owners and operators, Stratas and Grand Cayman, Little Cayman and Cayman Brac are still subject to a garbage fee bill, which they are supposed to pay. The period covering January to December of 2022. So folks, you can pay biannually in January and July, or I suppose you could pay for the entire year. But make sure you get your bill and you actually pay it because it helps with garbage collection services.
Why do some people pay it and some people don't?
They used to, it's one of those things, I think it was a compliance matter, Aaron. Everybody used to pay it. And then they realized that a lot of residential clients were not paying it anyway. And it was probably more of a hassle for them to try to collect from residential customers. So it was removed a number of years ago for all but.
Oh, they're not going to pay it. We're not going to, usually people would just stop collecting the trash.
I know, they just let the trash.
Then they let the trash build up and I see what you got to do. Yeah. What do you do? Yeah.
Then we'd have another situation in our hands. But so stratas it's probably easier because you've got like a strata that you can say, okay, a strata is responsible, strata management committee or whatever. And then businesses.
It does cost money to operate those trucks that come and empty the dumpsters.
Yeah.
Of course. They're millions of dollars.
Yeah.
So do the right thing, folks, and just pay your bill. It's pretty simple. So we're easing into the weekend.
It's a big weekend.
Yeah, what's going on?
Big weekend for DMS broadcasting.
Oh, I was like, wait.
Are we? Tell me why.
We're putting our brand new antenna up.
Things rolling.
Is it today that your work crew come in?
That's
what
it,
you were mentioning. Exciting.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go.
Very exciting. New station,
folks. In case you missed it, in case you've been asleep for the last month. Yes, DMS is launching 3 brand new stations, and we're excited because Bobo's coming, as well as let me see if I can remember the names now. Do we know the name of the country station yet?
Yeah,
K Country.
K Country.
K Country. Okay, and then we have Magic.
Right.
I'm right. Yay. That sounds like my kind of station. I tell you, I've been listening to on 106. I hear a lot of the commercials for Magic. And I was like, all of a sudden I'm like bopping to the music. I'm like,
That's a good station.
It'll be nice.
Yeah.
It's going to be awesome.
We did a big, we moved the antenna out of our broadcasting facility here, broadcasting center, which has been housed in our garage for 2 years.
A giant spool.
Wow.
So we fit it all in here when the lockdown happened because we were supposed to do this April 2 years ago. And then the lockdown happened and we were like, well, guess we'll just put things on hold until for a few months.
Fingers crossed, technology stays the same
for a few months. We did the big move yesterday out of the building over to the tower, and check me out on Insta. I can see all my stories.
Northward?
Well, you know what? Nothing before it's time, because I think the elements have lined up perfectly for so many different reasons. But this is great news for DMS. Congratulations. Lots of hard work goes into this sort of stuff. I don't think people realize how much it takes to run one station, much less. You guys are going to go up to 8?
7.
7 in total.
Yeah.
So
don't go crazy with 8 now.
I've got an idea, guys. No.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah.
So the hard work starts this weekend, folks. The crews are going to be out there getting it done. Very exciting.
See anyone dangling from a tall tower? That's Blake.
That's me hanging off the tower.
Tell me what's terribly wrong.
Honk at Blake.
Oh, you're supposed to strap in with a harness? Oh, man.
Take a parachute up there and jump off.
A big piece of plywood.
Yeah.
Just float down.
Oh, no.
Like a hang glide down.
Just take an umbrella like Mary Poppins.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
So that's wonderful news, folks.
All right.
We're excited. Weekend. I mean, everywhere I go, I saw somebody with a Bobo license plate yesterday.
Oh,
I've seen that person driving around. Yeah, they don't have anything.
Yeah, I'm like, who is that person?
Well, Bobo's used a lot.
Just another Bobo on island.
It's a common term, which is why we used it for the name of the.
I thought that was pretty funny that someone had a Bobo license.
Yeah.
There's some weird license plates. Like I got to go back to me finding there's a truck with an Idaho license plate driving around. I was like, for a second, I was like,
Idaho.
Yeah, I was thinking I was back at home, and I was like, wait a minute, that's not right. And I look over, and I was like, wait, it has the Idaho license plate, and then the Cayman license plate underneath.
They would have shipped it down then.
Oh, by the way,
you're not the only person from Idaho.
Literally, probably.
Can I just say this one final bit of news? Liquor licensing hours have reverted to normal as well. So as of Monday, February the 21st, all liquor license holders, Grand Cayman and the Sister Islands, so if you have a music and dancing license, back to normal hours.
Okay.
Because remember, that was part of the COVID, the liquor licensing board had actually changed the hours as well.
Okay, so you can
things have calmed down.
Yeah. So that has been reverted back.
That's good. COVID wasn't gonna just come out after midnight.
Right.
Oh, is it midnight yet? Oh, okay, here I am.
Hey, didn't affect my drinking.
You probably just drank at home. I mean,
I was gonna say
that's the best place to drink.
Out at midnight.
It's a short ride home.
Yeah.
Just climb the stairs to the bedroom.
Crawl back upstairs.
Yeah. All right. Well, have a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday.
Bye.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Bye. All right, folks. So that is Blake and Aaron in the morning. It is Friday. Buenos dias. Let me stick this up about the liquor license board just in case y'all want to know. I figure some of you may be wanting to go out this weekend. So I think a lot of people should be happy about the restrictions being lifted for the most part. Still some restrictions, obviously, but promoters should be relatively happy. And yeah. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. So we're going to get the ball rolling here in a second. Very, very good. All righty. Everybody had a good night sleep. I kind of went to bed early-ish. I was actually in bed by midnight. I felt like I could have gone to bed actually earlier than that because I was really feeling tired. And then I was going to watch this Tinder Swindler. I messaged my girlfriend Mary and I was like, oh, I'm going to watch Tinder Swindler tonight. And then I was like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to be able to stay up for it. So I watched half an episode of American Dad before I started to fall asleep. So I didn't even get to see the the full thing. So this weekend, I'm going to put it on the agenda. I don't have much time for TV, to be honest, but I wanted to watch that one. And what's the other one about Anna? Discovering Anna or Finding Anna or something. It's about another swindler of sorts who was claiming to design some machine. I'd actually read her story somewhere. And she was part of the whole Silicon Valley crew and getting a lot of investors on board, I think to the tune of millions of dollars to invest in her scam that wasn't even viable. I mean, it's amazing how people are able to scam other people. It happens a lot. So whether it's the dating world or, anything else, there was a little short video on YouTube that was saying that, listen, Inventing Anna. Thank you, Emma. I saw it on her system. I was like, oh yeah, I got to watch that one too. Most of these people, you don't tend to be able to carry out a scam like that entirely on your own. Like you need either enablers or co-conspirators, like people who are in it with you. And so it does make me wonder, even with Tindler Swindler, nobody else has been charged but him. But seems like some people were definitely along for the ride in a very interesting way, including his baby mama, because apparently he's got a baby mama. And some people even speculated his bodyguard and a few others. So I don't know. It seems a little bit strange. I haven't watched it yet, but I get the gist of what he was able to accomplish. And it's so amazing how people are easily fooled by outward appearances. Somebody looks like they have money and they're living this flashy life. We all assume that that's what it is. And we just go with it. And to think that he was targeting, relatively wealthy people, but giving them the facade that he also had money. And that just reeled him right in. As they say, not all that glitters is gold. Good morning, Virtuous Pinook. Good morning, Irvlin. Marshall is here. Chantel has got it locked. So how many of you are still recovering from that phone call yesterday? I've received so many messages. Morning, Chantel and Olivia, Lizette, Wee. Everybody's like, wow, that person was so rude. And I think some people didn't hear the name. So they were like, was that the receptionist or secretary? Like they actually thought that it was someone more entry level. And I said, no, that was actually the acting, I think she's like the acting deputy director of some area or another, or acting deputy chief officer or something. So no, it's someone who's a senior civil servant. That's the irony of it. And so, wow, all I can tell you is it's crazy. And yeah, I'm still in a bit of disbelief. So I don't know. But the good news is, there is a bit of good news in all of this. Jamelia got an email. So let's talk about what happened afterwards. Because, at the end of the day, results is all I really care about. I'm not particularly concerned about people's feelings and that sort of thing when they're working adults and they're supposed to be doing a job, right? So first, Jamelia got an email saying that you had been paid and the money should be in your account. Well, that's certainly interesting because Jamelia wouldn't be messaging into December and January if there was money in her account. Am I right? Like we wouldn't be having this conversation. Morning, Aliano, Luis. So anyway, that was the first email. Oh, you got the money already. Jamelia was like, no, I haven't gotten any money. And I wouldn't be chasing you up for months had I received the money. So let's see what's going on here. Then the next email, I'm trying to look through the email. So the first one says, your payment was processed from late December after you and I spoke. It should have been a credit to your CNB savings account of, and it puts the amount. Did you not receive it? So this was at 2:56 p.m. that she received that email. So finally, this is so ironic because it demonstrates that obviously they had been receiving her messages. So I want to show this to you guys because, this shows when we talk about the lack of just professionalism in the civil service, responding to emails and phone calls and those types of messages is precisely what we're talking about here. So for example, let me just, I want to show you guys this message. So when this message came in, the first thing I looked at was the date of the messages prior to that. I'm just going to remove the amount because I don't think Jamilia's information in terms of the few little dollars she's getting needs to be out there. So hold on one second. Let me just share this to you guys real quick. There's actually a way to there is a way. I think when I get my new board, there will be a way for me to just show my phone on the screen, which sometimes is useful. All right, hold on one second. So I'm getting this new fancy board that can do all kind of stuff, but the most important reason why I'm getting it is because I need to be able to take calls through the board. So I will be getting that hopefully next week in a couple days. So just in time for when we're on radio, so you guys can call in. So, oops, let me get this image sorted here for you guys. So yeah, so this was the first message. And it is, like I said, now look at the date of this message, right? Good morning, Miss Barbara. Hello, Miss Beulah. Jackie's here. Miss Rosemary. Stephen, joining us from the UK. So she replies to Jamilia's message from February the 7th. Now you see, this is what I'm talking about. Jamilia has been messaging since she applied in November. If someone had received money, all right, you say, oh, we sent it in December, in late December. All right. If you received it in late December, why do you think that this individual would still be emailing you in February saying, can I please get an update from when I applied in November? That doesn't make any sense. And it wasn't Jamilia's first email. So why would you even respond and say that to that person? I mean, obviously at this stage, you can assume that if the person's asking for an update, they haven't received the money. And you shouldn't just reply back and say, yeah, well, you should have gotten the money. You should say, let me do a little bit of research before I even message you to see what's going on. So this was the first message. And of course, Jamilia came back and said, no, I haven't received it. That's why I'm messaging you, lady. It's like, what? And then after that, it's like, oh, well, yeah, we're still waiting on stuff from you, and we can't verify this and we can't verify that. It's like, really? Are you kidding me? So then let me see what the next message said. Then she came back after that, after Jamilia said, no, I've not received the money. And that's precisely why I'm messaging. In fact, what she received, and I'm going to show you guys some of these because, again, Even the automated messages seem to be confused. Right? So Jamelia went to her account. Thank God for CNB. Charles, CNB got this new, automated, the new mobile app now, so that you can see exactly what's what. So Jamelia was even able to take a screenshot of her account and say, nope, I don't see anything. And no deposits there for late December. Right? So then she also went back and checked her emails, recollecting that she had received this email, this automated email that said on December the 30th, that please note that payments are no longer being processed for 2021 so that government's year-end duties can be carried out. And it goes on to say that the ex-gratia stipend for wages lost due to public health mandated isolation will resume next year. So when she got this at the end of December, Jamilia's thinking, oh, okay, well, at least I've gotten a response. And the response has said, wait until next year. And there it is, right? So that's part of the reason why she was a little bit more patient into the new year. And then she got this again yesterday at 4:33 that said, I've just reviewed all correspondence. You see, this is where I'm now saying that it would have made sense before you sent this first email at 2:56. Took you almost 2 hours then to come back and say you've reviewed all correspondence. Why not have done that? Because let me be very frank here, folks. People don't reach out to CMR just for the sake of complaining. I know some of y'all think that, but that's actually not the truth, right? So most people, my eyes are really dry today, so I'm putting some eye drops in, by the way. Most people reach out to us as a last resort. They're like, I've tried this, I've emailed, I've called, can't get through to anybody. I need help. And that's why people tend to reach out to us. And so if you hear me calling you in the morning, you can rest assured, folks, that I am calling you as a last resort on somebody's behalf. And that's exactly what yesterday's phone call was. So when you get that call, you don't just, oh yeah, she should have gotten the money. You go, something has gone wrong here. Let me try to check it out. And so, oops, that's the wrong one. And so when they went back to this, and then they're saying, okay, so we'd ask you for your ID. You did submit your ID, but your letter of employment was still outstanding. Furthermore, your employer response did not match the dates you applied for, which is why we process it as the same period. I don't know what that sounds, but, and had you marked as being paid. So, an employer letter doesn't match. And then you say, then your system or you somehow, I guess human error, say that the person has been paid? I'm confused. What do you mean? So you discover that the employer response doesn't match the dates. And what you do is you just say, oh, well, this person's been paid out of your system. And this was the amount. It just is a little bit crazy. Goes on to say, somebody says, even after all that attitude, she still got it wrong. Well, I mean, my query here is how many other people are finding themselves in the same boat. So I did send a list yesterday to someone else in the area. Tina has volunteered to accept a list of persons who found themselves without a response months later. And so I sent a list of, I can't remember how many people. By the way, somebody else messaged me last night. Oh, yes, there's another one that I have to send in this morning as well. I think this is what it's in relation to. Because they just sent their information, but they didn't say what it was. So, but they said applied in December. So I'm assuming that this is the ex-gratia payment as well. All right. So I'll be sending her one more person. So I did send her a list of individuals who said, they've also applied and it's been quite some time. and they've not received a response. So she's going to pass it on to the appropriate persons. And hopefully, you guys can get this sorted out. So keep us posted, Jamelia, when you get your money. Jamelia was just happy that she finally got a phone call. Or not a phone call, she actually got an email. And the process is hopefully now moving forward. Thank you, Danielle, and anybody else who works in that area. I don't think the public is being unreasonable when we expect responses to emails, right? I hope that nobody thinks that. People just want to know if they've applied for something. They want a status of it. And, I get that things happen, folks. I mean, recently I had submitted my renewal for my notary application, and I did my payment. And here's the thing, right? There's certain things that if you don't do them on time, they are what we call in law fatal to the process. So in other words, I'm trying to lubricate my eyes this morning. In other words, if you miss a deadline, that's it. Or you got a late fee to pay. If you miss your notary deadline, I think the fee like doubles or something for your renewal. So you go from paying $500 for the year to probably like $1,000 or more. And ain't nobody got that kind of money to be wasting. So I try to, even if it's at like 11:57, I try to get my payment in at 11:58 on January 31st of every year to make sure that the notary application can be renewed in accordance with the law and not incur any fees. So I paid mine a couple days before, actually. Submitted my you're supposed to submit a like an affidavit of sorts about answering certain questions. I did that. And they didn't get back to me. And then they emailed me, I think it was this week, and said, oh, apologies, we forgot to send you your receipt. Because in order for me now to take the physical document in to get them to sign off on it, I have to have that receipt attached to show proof of payment. And they contacted me. I've been so busy. I hadn't even gotten back to them. And they said, oh, apologies, we forgot to send you a receipt. Here it is. So, I mean, I get that things happen. Sometimes an email gets slipped through the cracks, and it might have gone to junk mail folder, or I don't know where. And these things do happen. Sometimes it happens to me. People are like, oh, did you see my email? And I'm like, no, but I literally get so many emails that I don't always see them. And so, sometimes I have to go back. I even create rules for my email folders. So I've got rules for like my daughter's school emails, because it's easy for them to get mixed up and God knows where. And so I will, if you use Outlook, you can create these rules that, number one, two things I do when I create a rule, like if it's an important email, because I can miss it, trust me, easily. So first thing I do is I put it in a specific folder. So all emails that have the name of her school, or they come from a particular email address, I'll say, okay, that's the criteria to look for. Have you guys ever created rules before? Anybody knows what I'm talking about? And I say, right, so that's the specific criteria that I'm looking for. And pull it out of the central inbox and put it in a special folder. So I create a folder called ABC School, or whatever the name of her school is. And I have one called Amazon, for example. I have emails for like house-related projects and whatever. So if I get a quote for the house and I put it, I create a rule and put everything in one kind of central location for email. So I pull it out of the central inbox, because literally the other day, can I tell you guys something? I have, oh God, how many email addresses? I have a few. And I have basically I have 4 that are pretty active. actually 5. But I would say of those, one is sent for like Roki related stuff. My customers, Micromatrix, I'm not really using as much, although I still get stuff coming in. I get a lot of like spam on that one, to be honest. People are like, oh, we can offer you web services and whatever. But some of these I have linked to certain things, right? So I have a couple for CMR. And then I have like my own personal sort of central mailbox. So in my own central mailbox the other day, I noticed that my my Outlook is kind of not just running slow, but when I tried to search for something, I got that little spinning wheel. And I was like, ugh. So I said to Marlon, I said, Marlon, I think I need a little cleanup. And of course, he's got to find time to do this kind of stuff for me. So he said, all right, he'll sort it out. So he started archiving and cleaning up. I had over 66,000 items, folks. Yes, in that one box alone, just in the inbox. That's not sent items. That's not the other because within Outlook, you can set up different mailboxes. That was just one mailbox. It was a lot. It was really bogging down my email chain, right? But, I create these rules. So I have one for Amazon, for example, because whenever I order something now, it's going to Aeropost, and I want to be able to pre-alert it, because pre-alerting it with Aeropost makes my life easier. What that means is by the time it gets delivered, so Amazon tells you the second they've shipped something, you've got the shipping ID number and whatever. And by the time it gets delivered to Aeropost, if they already have the invoice, then they can move your items very, very quickly. So it helps. They can pre-clear it with customs. Like, it really helps with the entire process of getting your stuff here in the Cayman Islands a lot quicker. So I'm really, really keen to try to pre-alert all of my stuff. So I go through that process. But I was noticing during the holidays that sometimes I would miss a few items. Like, they would come in, I didn't even see it. So I have a pre-alert for Amazon. So not only do I put it in another folder, but I actually have it pop up on my screen and it plays a sound, right? So Outlook is open. It goes bleep, 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 whatever. It plays a little sound, and it stays in a notification box until I'm able to then clear it out. And I don't clear it out until I have time to pull the invoice off of Amazon and pre-alert it. These are just organizational tools, folks. You got to keep your life a little bit organized. I get that not everybody is organized, but I'm telling you, there's certain things in life that you really should take the time to just ensure that you do. So it's easy to pre-alert it on their online system. And then when I pre-alert it, I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to worry about them emailing me 2 weeks later, or, my item's delayed. And I'm like, where's my stuff? And, oh, we didn't get an invoice. The only time it gets a little bit quirky is depending on where your item is coming from. Because, you order it from Amazon, but Amazon is like this big monster with a lot of tentacles. So sometimes it doesn't come from Amazon's central warehouse. It comes from elsewhere. And they're actually, shipping it into the US, and then it comes to your address. So what I've realized is that you've ever seen this happen where sometimes it's normally a shorter tracking number, but it's not a standard, like it's not UPS, it's not FedEx or anything like that, right? So you've got this unusual tracking number, and then that shows up on your account with Amazon. It never changes, but let me tell you how the process works, because Aeropost actually explained this to me, and I thought, this is really helpful for consumers to know. So say, for example, I order something that's actually coming from China, right? Or Europe or wherever. It then has this international tracking number associated with it. So shipping companies have access to this system where they can put those numbers in. And once it hits the US, it'll tell you what that number has been converted to, because then it's picked up by another carrier, you see. So I don't know, maybe it comes on Ho Shang Long carrier from China to the US. The second it hits customs border control in the US, FedEx or some other carrier picks it up and then ultimately delivers it to you. Amazon doesn't tell you any of that stuff. And on top of it, Amazon only shows you the original tracking number, which isn't what Aeropost gets in their system. So there've been a couple times I'm like, okay, I uploaded this item, you've got a receipt, but they didn't see that that's what it was because the tracking numbers don't match. No fault of my own. It's just how Amazon system operates. So then in those cases, I have to go back and say, this is the same item as this tracking number here. But it just makes life easier, folks, if you can organize your emails and stuff. So Maria says, I need to come by you for some computer lessons. Listen, it's one of the things that I've always wanted to do on this program, actually, is, really just try to educate people about all sorts of different things. There are things in life, educational tools or whatever, that really make our lives easier, So I try to be, listen, email is a monster. Trust me. And so sometimes even when I'm looking through my emails, like I'll get emails on my phone, on desktop computer, on the laptop computer, which by the way, I've noticed that one mailbox on my laptop isn't working. I got to try to ask Marlon to find time to look at that for me. I haven't been getting anything since like the 28th of January. Like you got to pay attention to these little things, right? So anyway, so I, just try to keep organized. Sometimes I flag stuff for follow up. I organize, like all of the cause lists. Let me tell you guys something. Every single day we get a cause list from the court's office that tells us what cases are on for the day. Ooh, I want to talk about cases in a second. Yeah, I'm coming to that. And so what I do is, let me show you guys something. So what I do is I actually have, I'm going to show you guys my inbox a little bit here, just making sure there's nothing that's going to show up that's confidential in this window. Actually, there is. I'm going to move that out before I show you this. This is going to go into a subfolder. I do get confidential tips and emails from people. Yes. So I want to make sure none of that was showing. All right, let me just show you an example, right? So here's my email. On the side, folks, you've got your different email folders over here. Yeah, okay. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 email addresses, and then archives. And then here's the primary one for CMR, the inbox. So in my inbox, I now have underneath it, you might be able to see all that well, but I've got additional subfolders that I've created. So one is from my designer. So anytime he sends me something, you see these first two I haven't looked at yet, from Monday and Tuesday. I've already received them, but he also just sends me the link so that I could always keep track. I've said to him, because sometimes he'll send me WhatsApp messages. You might miss a WhatsApp message. So I said, listen, always, always, always send me the Dropbox link in email, so that now every single time that comes in, it's automatically sent to this folder. So this is all the stuff that he sends me, and I keep it all organized, right? And then I'm able to quickly go here and say, okay, this is where it's at. So here's one that is full of stuff. This is the court cause list. A lot of days, as you can see, I'm not even opening them because I'm really that busy. So this probably has, I don't know how many items are in this box. Because this is on the server. I don't think it tells you in the same way that regular Outlook folders do, like pop accounts. But anyway, so here we go. Everything that comes in. So sometimes I need to go back and have a look, like say today's date, for example, right? These are all for the 18th. So we have a Richard Lee Hides who's in for burglary. He's in drug court. We have a couple civil trials going on. That's before Magistrate McGrath. So I can just go through and have a little look-see at all of these. Now, one thing I must say about the court list is you can't wait forever to look at these emails if there's something that you're interested in, because in fact, they expire because their URLs, their links, they expire after a certain amount of time. So they actually have a specialist domestic violence court. Did you guys know this? So the court has specialty courts. They've got drug court, obviously civil and general criminal. And then they have like financial services court, more complex legal matters to deal with financial services. They have drug court. I said that one already, I think. Domestic violence. They've got family court. What are the other specialty courts? Family. I think that's, mental health. There is a mental health court as well. So even the courts are getting organized, child, because they try to ensure that, there's some level of continuity. So this is domestic violence court. This is going before magistrate gun. So unlike regular criminal matters, which every day you show up, they can go before anybody, right? They try to keep like mental health court goes to chief magistrate Foldatz, and he deals with those files. So every single, say the person comes every 2 weeks or once a month or whatever, he gets a progress report, how are they doing with, because some people might be more than one court, like they're drug addicts and they have mental health issues, but he really gets a sense of what's going on. It's not like one judge showing up one day and then another judge, because that's normally how it works. You don't know which magistrate when you go to court you're actually going to get. So when they assign like a specific magistrate or judges to these specialty courts, it really helps to streamline the process, because they will remember, okay, the last time you were here, yes, I remember I made these notes on the file. This is what was done and whatever. So here we have domestic violence court. These are people who are in there for what they consider like common assault, disorderly conduct, causing fear, provocation of violence, but these are people who obviously have an issue when it comes to domestic violence. So they have Tomango Watson, no clue who that is. He's in here for quite a few things. He's actually going to be sentenced today for all this stuff that you see at the bottom. Damage to property, failing to surrender, causing fear or provocation, assault causing ABH, consumption of ganja, use or keep of a road vehicle required to be licensed. So he's got licensing offenses, drug offenses, and then damage to property and what we call offenses against the person, like assault and stuff like that. Marco Velazquez Cordoba, he's in for damage to property. Jordan Telford, threats to cause serious harm. Mike McLaughlin, Andrade McLaughlin, and Joachim Martins. I don't know why y'all be giving your children such difficult names. So this is some of the stuff then. And I have it purposely organized that way. Now, like I said, the links do expire. So, sometimes if you have to go back in time, you're like, oh no, that link expired. Now, let me show you something, because I want to talk about this dude. Name, what's his name again? Hold on. Let me close these out. I'm going to tell you guys about him. His name is Garfield Rob. All right. So Garfield decided to pick up the phone and call me yesterday. Can I just tell y'all that when you're in court for criminal activity and we report on it, you shouldn't be calling me. It's not in your best interest to pick up the phone and call me, not at all. Especially when you are an alleged thief like Garfield Rob. Definitely, you should know by now. Child molesters, I want to virtually kick you in your head. So definitely don't call me. I'm going to talk about that case here in a second. The guy got sentenced yesterday. So Garfield Antonio Rob is in court for obtaining property by deception. 13 counts. Yes, Evelyn. Evelyn knows all about this dude because she's one of his victims. So he called me yesterday. So he was in court on Tuesday. And so yesterday we updated that he's finally been charged. Now let me backtrack here. You guys will remember. So let me just pull up a website. Garfield Rob. You go to CMR website and you search for Garfield Rob. And you will get multiple. Oh, sorry. I was going to spell this first name. You will get multiple stories about this man when you look him up in CMR. In fact, The first story dates back all the way to 2018. Consumer alert. Hurricane shutters. Now, he's operated under several different operating names, right? So here he is. That's his company truck. This consumer who got gypped by him took a picture of that. And this is now a man who, this was an email sent to us saying that, listen, deposit of $1,650 on May the 12th. They sent their proof of receipt. He was supposed to start the job. Between May and September, they hadn't seen him. And so then they reached out to us. And literally, I like this little image here, the consumer's getting screwed, literally. And so, this is kind of like our version of sort him out Sandy. Even before we had that title, we were trying to sort him out. So the verdict was this company is not to be trusted and does not have a valid business license to be operating. Because what this guy was doing is he was having a lot of complaints against him. And so he didn't even bother to go to DCI and get a license. He was just still walking around doing business like nobody's business. But yet it should be everybody's business that this is a company that you shouldn't trust that's going to rip you off. Okay. So eventually what happened was his wife decides that she's going to take out a business license in her name, trading as whatever shutter company, allowing him to still continue ripping people off. Now, you see, when something like that happens, I'm sorry, but he should not be the only one on the cause list. The wife should be on the cause list. The Caymanian wife should be on the cause list as well. So then in 2022, he was on the cause list, and we discovered the DPP and their slackness. They would come after me and you with a vengeance. But with him, they allowed him to settle this case that they had. And this is where y'all are making a mistake. When somebody owes you money and they have taken your money and not completed the work, folks, that could very well be a criminal case. And when they come now and they're in court, they beg you to settle it. Don't settle it with them. And I'll tell you why. You'll still get a compensation order from the criminal court. But when you allow them to get away with it, so this was another one, installing blinds for thousands of dollars. So this was a 2017 case we now discover that someone as early as at least 2016 had contacted the police about him, lodged a criminal complaint saying that he'd taken over $4,200 of their money between January and March of 2017. They gave an initial deposit of $3,000. Another deposit of $1,200, promised to complete the job as soon as possible. And of course, it never gets done, right? And then these are all the messages that we've been getting. So he owed multiple, I didn't even know that some of these people related to me, but he says, oh, I'll get your cousin her money back. That was one person. But he owed multiple people money. It wasn't even my cousins who would come forward initially. It was afterwards. I had a cousin. I had a sister. Like, oh, yeah. I had a niece. Oh, yeah. I gave him money, too. I was like, wow. Y'all need to be reading CMR, folks, because we already wrote an article about this dude. So these are all the customer complaints that we were getting at the time, right? So the DPP dropped it because the customer said, oh, we'll just settle it. He said he's going to pay. Stealing from Peter to pay Paul is normally how this works. So he goes out there, takes Irvlin's money to now pay back Flavio or somebody else that he owes money to. Because I don't know what it is about a thief, but you notice when people steal, they never seem to actually have money. Like they have to keep stealing because they're trying to keep up, I guess, with a lifestyle or an existence that they can't keep up with. And so the thievery seems to always have to continue. January 2021, back in the news again. So this time we were talking about him on the show. Yep, go back to it. And it doesn't stop. So he just continues and continues. We even did a story about him and how to go to small claims court. You don't need a lawyer, folks. to get money back, especially when it's debt, it's a relatively easy process. Y'all want to have a show on that to show you how to recover money from people, right? Then we did another one again in January of 2021. So at this point, I'm starting to wonder. I knew at least, oh God, I lost count of how many people were saying this dude owed him money. And I emailed the police commissioner and I said, sir, with all due respect, I know y'all are always willing to come after certain individuals, although you have no case against them. In a situation like this is no longer, because the police officers kept telling the people, oh, it's a civil case. It's a civil case. No. There comes a point in time when you do something enough, it is no longer a civil case. You write enough bad checks, it becomes obtaining property by deception. It's now a theft. It's a prosecutable offense in a criminal court of law. So I said to the police commissioner, I said, I'm sorry, but I'm at a loss as to how it is possible that you guys allow this man to continue to go out there and rip people off. He's not going to stop because most people don't have money to pay a lawyer. They don't understand the small claims court process. They're not going to go after him. He doesn't have the money. He's actually threatened some of the people that he owed money to. He starts cursing them out and threatening them. So then they get scared. And I said, oh, my eye. I said, listen, this is clearly one of those situations that needs to be looked into. So sure enough, after I sent the email, the commissioner said, thank you for the message. And he'd invite his investigators to look into it. And not long after that, the police issued a public statement saying that this is back in January now, 26, and this is after we had talked about it 3 times in January of 2021, at least. The Financial Crime Unit finally started to take the matter seriously. After we pointed out what I thought was very obvious. Why are you allowing this man to continue to rip people off in the community and you don't step in, you do nothing? So then they issued a statement asking anyone who has been deceived by this man, he's taken your money, promised you shutters and never delivered, please come forward. Well, based on this now charges, where's the charge sheet? Sorry. At least 13 people look like they've come forward because he has 13 cases, 13 charges of obtaining property by deception. That's a lot. Wow. And I am certain that this is probably a conservative number of individuals because some people are so embarrassed. There was a doctor, right? A doctor's office. Remember where Dr. Khan used to be? That sex offender? The chiropractor who was feeling women up and taking pictures of them and stuff like that. Well, when he got charged and sent to jail, the doctor that took over that office decided she wanted to put in some shutters. I think she actually bought the space. And who did she contact to do the job? Yours truly, Garfield Robb. I only noticed because my office used to be in Pasadena Place. And one day I was sitting there and I saw a guy installing some shutters. I said, oh, I hadn't seen this company before. And so I stepped out of my office. And I said, hello. And he was a Caymanian with good manners. And he said hello back. And I said, oh, let me have one of your cards because I keep having people call me about someone installing shutters and they need a new company. Let's just put it that way. So he said, oh, yeah, I'm well familiar, Miss Sandra, because why do you think I'm here? I'm having to do this job for this woman. She's spending excess money. I'm having to finish this job because she contacted that same company. He took her money and then never did anything. I said, what? I'm sure she's not one of the victims on this because, people like that, they got money. They're like, let me just find somebody else, pay somebody else to do it. Can't be bothered. So the ugly truth, he has now been arrested and charged. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, RCIPS, for finally doing something about this guy after all these years. So anyway, yesterday now we put up on the website, on the Facebook page actually, that I'll show you that he's been charged and just giving y'all an update. He's now facing 13 counts of obtaining property by deception. So I was at a little social event and I see my phone blowing up from this particular number. I'm like, who's calling me? I actually didn't have my phone on me. I had my phone set down. So when I got my phone back, I said, somebody keeps calling me. I like to return phone calls if I can. So I called the number back. And this is how the conversation went. This is Garfield Rob. You bumbleclot this and you bumbleclot. I was like, but geez, peace. Hold on here now. An alleged thief, Garfield Rob, has the audacity to call my phone and use the word bumbleclot upon my phone. I'm like, you must be out of your goddamn mind. So, in that split second, y'all know Sandy Mountain, I joined the church. I said to myself, before I tell this man about his backside, see him right here? This was the post that got him all upset why he calling me. So I said to myself, before I tell this man about his backside, let me just hang up the phone. Click. I hung up the phone. He kept calling me. I said, ooh, for a thief, he is very, very bold. Wow. He's not easy. So that wasn't enough. So then he decides he's going to send me a text message. And his text message says, this is the wrong person you were effing around with. Let me tell you something. You do not F with me, yeah? Garfield Rob. You know this is actually an offense, right? I know you look like you not got much sense. By the way, Ugly Truth wants to know where he's from. He's from Jamaica. Married to some Caymanian that has allowed him to come here and abuse the good people of the Cayman Islands, of all nationalities. He's stolen from Caymanians, from non-Caymanians, from people he knew, his own Jamaicans, and he don't care. In Jamaica, it wouldn't go so. So, yeah, he decides to send me this text message. So I'm going to let the RCIPS handle him in terms of this text message. I don't know what he's messaging me for, though. Like, honestly, the post has already reached over 9,500 people. I can only hope that that will be 9,500 people that will remember this name, Garfield Rob, and never under any circumstances do business with this man. Now, there's nothing wrong with this post. I'm just telling you what's going on in court. He appeared on Tuesday before Magistrate Hernandez. He has been charged 13 counts of obtaining property by deception. He'll be back in court again on March the 8th. Lucia says, I was a victim of Garfield Rob, but I chased him down almost a year to get my money back for shutters. It's sad. It is kind of funny, touche, that his name, Rob, is quite appropriate given the fact that apparently he's going on robbing people. Yes. Steven says, I almost got scammed by him as well. Lord have mercy. I'm telling you, there are probably a good 50 victims of his out there, because let me tell you what else he was doing. After his name became so salted, he then went out there and was working for another shutter company, making money from them and still not paying his victims back. So I don't know where he's working now, but you see, they don't like to be exposed on CMR because, listen, 9,500 people have seen this post already, right? By the time it's done, and this is where y'all need to start sharing stuff from these criminals, share that post. Everybody go and share the Garfield Rob post. I'm going to put it up on the website too. Because the more people that know about these scammers, the more of you can protect yourselves. This is consumer protection. This is how it works. And an island this size, poor Flavio, I remember when Flavio reached out to me initially, he said to me, Sandy, had I seen your first article, which I didn't, I wouldn't be in this mess because I would have never engaged in his services. So yeah, I feel sorry for Flavio, child. He's like, man, I wish I'd seen this message before. And I said, poor you. He said, man, this could have saved me a lot of time and money, more importantly. Flavio says this guy needs to be exposed to the community very often. He's a crook and doesn't deserve to be in business. He told me a few weeks ago that he did some work for government. This is what was shared with us back in 2019. Says you probably remember the company Cayman Hurricane Shutters. Mr. Garfield Rog, he took a deposit from me for $2,250 just over a year ago and never accomplished with the proposed work. So I ended up using another company to supply and install my roll-up doors and hurricane shutters. Anyway, believe it or not, I'm still tracing for the money, which Mr. Rob keeps saying that he will return to me, but never did. I just had enough, and I'm about to move a court case against the guy. And I made some police reports against him as well for trespassing on my property without permission. But nothing, no results as yet. The worst part is the guy is still working out there, making more victims. Someone has to stop him. Yep. This is back in 2019. I'm telling y'all, the guy has been prolific for a minute. Let me save his photo in my, I know I got to keep organized with all these criminal photos and stuff like this. So, it says that he's a crook and doesn't deserve to be in business. I hope that it's not true, knowing government is supporting this guy. But government doesn't know he's a crook if he hasn't crooked government yet. I encourage other people who become a victim of this guy to do the same and input their feelings. We have to stop these type of people stealing money from good people. So then the guy says to me, one thing I know, I don't think so, Shannon. He says, one thing I know is that he hates you a lot. And I said, really? Most criminals do, because they know we're going to be exposing who they are to the public. So he can hate me all he wants, but don't pick up. Listen, you told me you can pick up my phone number, BBC. Don't pick up my bumbleclot phone. Don't pick up your phone again and call me. I've already reported the matter to the police and they'll be in touch. Do not call me again. Don't text me and don't call me, Garfield Rob. Harming the community. He's a threat, and the police should protect the community from people like this. Well, just goes on and on and on and on. So anyway, he'll have his day in court. We'll now see what comes of it. And we'll take it from there. Anyway, stay tuned. So yes, Stephen was saying that he was also a victim, but something in me knew he wasn't any good. He phoned so many times that I had to block him. Really? So he's harassing you to become a victim. Truly disgusting. He scammed my friend as well, and then finally came around to install old or used shutters on her property. Wow. El Rey says, man running a shutter Ponzi scheme. Emma says, I'm so disappointed that TCE only got 8 years. Okay, yes, let's talk about this other case. Debbie says he needs to take Lavelle and go home. Yes, when she says home, not home as in his house here, but all the way back to Jamaica, I'm pretty sure is what Debbie meant. Lucia, have you contacted the police? I mean, I think as many people, listen, this is how it works. If the police don't know the caliber of what they're dealing with, child molesters, scammers, whatever, if you don't tell the police and they can't launch an investigation, none of that will be something that can be utilized in a court of law, unfortunately. So you've got to give a statement. You've got to make it part of the evidence that can be presented. This guy, I'm working hard to get a photo of Tony O'Connell Ebanks, but no photo to be had. I have been looking high and low because people need to put a face to this. Because in less than 8 years, this guy will be out on some sort of release. He'll be out of jail and looking for his next victim. So let me bring you up to scruff here on where we are with this situation. So Luis, I think you're making a comment, says, boy, they scared of you. You opened your mouth and the next day you get a response. And Jamelia went to the right person, even though the lady was not nice at all. She's not the only one with that attitude in CIG. Good morning, brother Hero Blair. We cautiously moving back to normalcy, trusting we all get the support. Yes, we're going to be talking about that here in a minute. Ugly Truth says the civil service did was give all that civil servant did was give the good ones a black eye. Appalling is all one can call her interaction with you yesterday. I'm so glad it was live for everyone to hear. Yeah. I mean, because, if I told you the story, you probably wouldn't believe it. Yes, I am a notary. There is a standard fee in the notary law of, I think it's like $25. But there are times that, depending on the individual, sometimes I don't charge people. I've had people cry to me before because they've come to notarize something. And I could tell that they were not even in a position to pay the $25. So I said, you know what? Don't worry about it. I'll notarize it for you. And I've had people start crying like, oh, Miss Sandy, you have no idea how much even $25 means to me right now. And then I'll find a little gift card from Foster's and give them as well. So what a hot mess. All right, give me 1 second. I want to switch gears a little bit here, but I do feel my sinuses are a little bit congested. So let me deal with that situation. And then we're going to talk about this child molestation case. Very, very important case for a number of reasons. All right. My apologies. Just a little congested today. Sometimes it's the weather. I think it's like something outside with the pollen or something. I don't know. I haven't even been outside yet, but I do notice in the morning that a lot of times my sinuses are just really irritated. So anyway, so yes, let's talk about sex offender. His name is Tony O'Connell Ebanks. Like I said, we've not been able to get any photos of him, unfortunately. But if I can, I certainly would love to have one. Anybody got one? Let me know. These guys are just on the radar. So he was convicted yesterday. He was convicted, last month and sentenced yesterday for touching a 5-year-old child. Okay, let's talk about this sicko. Couple things of interest, and I like this judge. I haven't had an opportunity to see him do too many rulings. This is Justice St. John Stevens, I think is his name. But he has a very calming demeanor about him that I must say is nice. So no photo, but this is what we have here. So repeat sexual predator Tony O'Connell Ebanks from West Bay was sentenced to 8 years in Grand Court Thursday afternoon. That was yesterday afternoon for indecent assault of a 5-year-old child. The sentence was handed down after it was disclosed by the court that he had completed a court-mandated sex offender program in 2017 following several previous convictions. So here's the thing. He had raped a woman already. He had sexually assaulted an 11-year-old child in the back of a vehicle. Those are the ones we know about because he was convicted for them. Do I need to remind you that most sexual predators have convicted, I forget what the average number is, but multiple offenses before they're even brought to light, before they're even charged? So in anybody's mind, to think that these are the only two, you would be, now three, you would be very, very mistaken. God only knows how many other victims have not come forward, who were too afraid, too ashamed, too confused, whatever, to go to the police. So after his second offense, sexual offense, it's clear, I mean, it should have been clear after the first one, but okay, that you've got a sexual predator on your hands. And so the court mandated him to take the sex offender program. Now, I don't know who does this program, if this is DCFS, it's probably like the counseling unit. I'd like to see the program personally, but clearly it didn't work for him. And the truth of the matter is, these types of programs seldom work for adult offenders. The one category of offenders that we know have a bit of a chance at rehabilitation for being a sexual deviant is actually teens. Like the sooner you catch them and put them like in intense therapy, the better the chances are of trying to get them the help that they need. That is why you as parents, I'm going to be very, very clear now. I want to say this because I know this applies to some of you. You've got children out there who are doing things that you're very much aware of, and you know who you are. I don't need to call any names. You know exactly who you are. They're funneling their siblings, right? They're making younger children perform oral sex on them. You need to get your children some professional help. This is not the kind of behavior that you hide and cover up and that you ignore, because you are doing so to the detriment of your own child. Because there will become a time when that child will become an adult and they'll be continuing that type of devious behavior, and they will get caught at some stage and they will go to jail. Get your children the help that they need. A lot of times they themselves are a product, and I guess some parents might find this difficult to digest, but they themselves are a product of some form of abuse or molestation, and that's their way of acting out. They're sexualized too early. So you need to get them help. You need to look into it. So he went after this 5-year-old child. I don't want to go into too many details. I purposely left out some very critical things about the case in the story because I don't want y'all to try to guess who the child is or try to identify who the child is. The child reported it to her mom after being in some pain and discomfort. You know, this really makes me sick because I've got a 5-year-old daughter, and I could not even imagine anyone thinking that a 5-year-old child is sexually attractive in any way, much less doing something like this to them. It's just, it physically makes me ill a lot of times when I have to sit there and listen to the details of these cases. And it does make me angry as well. You know, I'm trying to channel my anger in a productive way, making sure you guys know who these individuals are so you can protect yourselves and your children. Because like I said, one day he's going to get out. He's going to serve 60% of that sentence. He's been on remand since he got convicted last month. So he's going to serve 60% of that, and he's going to be back out again in your neighborhood, potentially around your children. Some of y'all might start dating this man, not even knowing who he is. So when they arrested him, this is what he said at the detention center. He said, "That's all you've got, nothing else?" You know, this is where I think, oh, thank God I'm not a police officer, because y'all be charging me for brutality and some of these criminals, because that's when I would have taken my steel toe boot and just give him one swift kick in the chin accidentally. I'd be like, boop, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to lift my leg that high. Like, what? Oh, that's all you got? Well, thank God. Judge alone, he got convicted. The poor little child testified about what he had done. You know, somebody said to me, I actually missed because it was a very fast trial. It was like one day and it was done, right? By the time I got there, it was already done. And I had a particular lawyer message me and say, you need to be in court for this one. And I said, what's going on? I rushed over there and it was finished. The child testified. And when the security, because they'll have people from both the prison, oftentimes in court, or security officers, when this female officer left the courthouse, the lawyer said to me, this is why they knew I needed to be there. The look on her face, they said she was like in tears from what she just heard this young witness give as testimony. That's how distraught she was as an adult. So you can only imagine the damage that it has done to a 5-year-old child. So the judge did talk about how the child has been psychologically traumatized by this. She was getting counseling, which, let me say this about the system. Her mother was having to pay for counseling and her mother couldn't really afford it. Why would her mother find herself in that sort of predicament? MASH unit now is like, oh yeah, okay, now we'll help with it. MASH unit from the onset should have been ensuring that this child got free counseling. Like, do they not do an assessment? I'm not saying everybody, like, if you can afford counseling, then, don't take advantage of the system. But wouldn't they have done that assessment early on to see what the finances were of the family? A single parent home, the mother, counseling can be very expensive. Yes, the child's going to need a lot of therapy. And if the mother can't afford it, what do you want her to do? Not feed the child? So this is a slackness in the system that when I heard the judge said, arrangements were being made for the MASH unit to try to get her counseling at no cost to the victim, I'm like, that should have been the case from day one, from when this case first came to court. Or when he was first arrested, not even to court. You get the victim help right away. So then he talked about, obviously the history of offenses that this man has. The sex offender program was not much help. He's still offending. So he discussed the culpability and seriousness of the offense. He also noted that in April of 2020, there were some revised guidelines and offense-specific guidelines put in place. Now, nobody can believe that he only got 8 years, but let me remind you guys that not that long ago, he would not have even gotten 8 years. He probably would have gotten 12 months, 6 months, practically nothing. So the guidelines for sentencing have been significantly revised and improved. It's not enough. We want them to go to jail for way longer than that, especially when we know, as the judge has said, in all likelihood, he will reoffend. We need to have a 3 strikes rule. This would be his 3rd strike just for this offense. He shouldn't be getting out anytime soon. Should be 25 years. But that's not how the system works, folks. Now, unless you push your legislators to legislatively change this, the courts have to be guided, the judges have to be guided by the guidelines that they have available to them, the sentencing guidelines. That's all they have to go by. So the starting point, he said, for a sentence of this category of culpability, which he set at a B offense, being the starting point, was 4 years. The range 4 to 7. Now the judge pushed it up even further than that because of what he saw as very serious, aggravating aspects of the case. The young age of the child. He's a repeat offender. He's already done this program that obviously didn't work. The likelihood of him reoffending. In mitigation, his lawyers said that the location and timing were not relevant. I don't want to get into too much about that, but let's just say that it took place in a place where the child should have felt safe, and the judge thought that defense argument made no sense in light of that. And that was one of the things that he spent some time discussing yesterday. The vulnerable age of the victim. The defense also argued that his previous convictions were of some time ago and should not be counted against him. Now, I get it. Defense lawyers, they just got a job to do, folks. So they're going to make all these arguments. Gabby says they don't know how these lawyers can sleep at night. Child, to them, honestly, it's just a job. You know, that's why I could never be a defense attorney. You guys know I had dreams of being a lawyer, and then, you know, came out and changed those dreams for more reasons than one. But I couldn't be a defense attorney for these types of cases. Not in a million years. I'd be like, dude, this is what you did? As your lawyer, I'm going to tell you to plead guilty, save the court time, just go sit in jail, because that's the only place you should be. I wouldn't be arguing. His previous offenses were so long ago. Actually, they weren't really, 2017, he came out on what they call conditional release or whatever. That's not that long ago. And when you understand sexual offenses, you really get it that this guy will repeat again. He's 53 years old. He'll get out when he's probably 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, maybe 58. He's still probably got a long life ahead of him, unfortunately. But they have put a sexual protection order in place for 12 years. Now, you see, for me, a sexual protection order should be a lifetime thing. It should have no expiration date. Because again, if you've done the research, and one of the reasons why, let me tell you, we've got a domestic violence court, drug court. I told you about these specialty courts. We need to have a specialty court, please. The judiciary, somebody listen to me this morning. We need to have a specialty court for sexual offenses. And what needs to happen as part of that, the prosecution uses one young lady. She's quite nice, actually, as prosecutors go. I can't remember her name now. She has an unusual last name. But anyway, she does a lot of the cases, right? So there's some degree of continuity from the prosecution perspective. But if you set up a sexual offender, sort of specialty court, it allows for continuity of the judges and stuff as well. And here's what's more important. Yes, and a sex offenders registry. But here's what's more important is that the judges should be trained themselves in the field of sexual predators, sexual predatory behavior. And there are courses that you can take, because trust me, I've started a course myself. So these orders were put in place in 2017 after much back and forth. I think it came into play in 2018. A sexual harm prevention order was enacted by the legislator back in, I want to say, when they amended the penal code in the summer of 2018. So let me just see here. I think it's in this amendment. Yeah. So this was the penal code amendment going back to 2018. To provide for the retrospective application of a sexual harm prevention orders, to provide for offenses in respect of sexual communication with a child. So you guys might remember that one of the things that came out of the Atto Stevens case and others is we recognize that the grooming of children happens quite a bit. And as a result of that, that needs to be an offense in and of itself. Because before this amendment in 2018, that was not an offense. So they went back and they added these components, thank you, Jesus, to the penal code. So they've added assault by penetration. I don't know why they just don't call it rape, because that's what it is. So now there's a definition of what assault by penetration is. And they cover everything. Because, you know, oh, well, it was with a finger. It was this. No, doesn't matter. Any object, intentionally and without consent. And for clarity, they made sure to put in there that a child under the age of 16 cannot consent to penetration. Because some of y'all be like, oh, well, the child wanted it. They said it was okay. A child cannot consent. Orally, vaginally, anally, with any object, with an object, or any part of A's body remains an offense. To imprisonment for a term of 10 years. So they repealed in substitution of section 135, which was called defilement of idiots and imbeciles. Now, idiot is the, I guess, legal term that they used to use for someone who is mentally incapable. They've changed it so that it's now much more PC, right? Nobody uses the words idiots anymore to describe people mental, or imbeciles to describe people with mental health incapacities or whatever. So if a person has a mental impairment, they say within the meaning of the mental health law, or has a mental disorder impeding choice. Does that sound so much nicer than calling somebody an idiot or an imbecile? So this was a good bit of amendment to the penal code. Section 5, sexual communication with a child. Now, notice what this section does. So it says when a person being 18 years or older for the purposes of obtaining sexual gratification. So we'll say it's two 16-year-olds messaging each other. It's not going to be caught by this law because I think it's interesting because, you know, a lot of times kids will engage in this kind of chatter amongst themselves, and we see it as being part of a teenager. But you should also know that some 25% of all sexual abuse happens from your own peers. So parents, you do need to pay attention, although the law might not be necessarily catching those individuals. You do need to keep up with what is happening from teenager to teenager. 5-year-olds hanging out with 10 and 12-year-olds, they can be easily victimized by those same people. Right? But the law has limited it to between 18 years or older. So this is what that coach Atto Stevens was doing. Arranging to meet a child following sexual communication is now an offense as well. So these are all of the what we call, what's the word for it? What's the term? Begins with a P. Predicate offenses, I think is what it's called. Right? So this is all the stuff that you do before you lead up to the actual rape or penetration or whatever. You have to communicate with the child. You have to meet up with the child. So if you can make those things in themselves, so it's a component of a more serious crime, essentially, is what a predicate offense is. But if you can make those an obvious offense, then the hope is that you can try stopping some of the people before they get to the more serious offense of rape, penetration, and so on of a child. And I can tell you, some people that we've covered here on this show who have never been held to account by the law, With this new amendment, 2018, they better stay where they are, somewhere else around the world. Because if they come back to the Cayman Islands, I don't see no statute of limitation here. They might be in trouble. Because a lot of those victims who were sending me those messages, sexual communication with a child, that's exactly what was happening. And then they were pretending, oh, I didn't know that you were 15, 16 years old. It's like, really? So even causing a child to watch sexual activity is now an offense. You should not be allowing children to watch pornography. The procurement of a child for sexual activity. Even engaging in sexual activity in the presence of a child. Good. Because some of y'all too slack with what you be doing, knowing that you in a one bedroom and everybody's sleeping on top of each other, including your children. You have got to take extreme caution when, because of your living conditions, your children unfortunately have to share a room with you. Because I don't think any child should be sharing a bed with anybody. But I do understand that financially other children might have to share a bed, but you need to get to a point where you can try to separate children and give them their own space. Especially if it's like opposite sex. That's what disturbed me the most about that case the other day with that other guy and his daughter. Sleeping in a bed with your daughter? Come on, dude. And by the way, for the avoidance of doubt, I was so concerned about that child that I did make some inquiries in terms of whether or not she'd be returned to the home with this man now that he's been vindicated by this jury. And I was told that no, she will remain in, I guess, foster care and a ward of the state, despite the fact that he was not found guilty. And I said, oh, thank you, Lord. I'm so glad to hear that. And I hope that that's actually what happens. She should have no contact with him if she doesn't want any contact with him. And I'm also hoping that they get her therapy because she's going to need it. Inviting a child to participate in a sexual activity. So, when certain people in this community were sending around messages to people saying, oh, can you send me a photo of your breasts for money? Stay where you are in another jurisdiction, because trust me when I tell you, the laws have changed and you're going to find yourself in trouble. Abuse of position of trust is now an offense. So there's been some tightening up of the legislation, thank God. I think the sentencing still isn't where we'd like it to be, but it is better than it was. Because before, he would not have been getting even 8 years. Like I said, he would have gone a couple months. And all you have to do is go back and look at the cases that I have been talking about for years, saying, why is this person going to go to jail for just a few months for what they did to this child? So he's already in custody from when they found him guilty. So he'll spend 60% of 8 years. You do the math. You'll know when he's coming out. He's subject to, like I said, the sexual protection order for 12 years. I don't know. I didn't see anything in the law that said, let me see, sexual protection order. Protection. Oops. Sexual harm prevention. Sorry, it's sexual. The correct term for it is harm prevention order. So let me see. The retrospective application of sexual harm. Okay. Provision is made for offenses in respect to sexual communication with a child and sexual activities with a child. But I think I need to, this doesn't really go into it, but I need to see, I'm curious to know if there's any, if there is like you have to put a 12-year, like, is there a limitation on that? because I kind of think that maybe that's why the judge was limited to 12 years. I'm not really sure. Let me see. Let me see if I can find out. It would be interested to know. So sexual protection orders. So they can do them for like domestic violence and stuff as well. I'll try to see if I can. I'll try to see if I can find this out. This one is about the domestic order one, so that's not what I'm looking for. Okay, I will try to find out. Because if I can tell you, I would definitely want to let you know. But I would have thought that this should be like a lifetime order. There's another case in 2019 where a rapist was arguing under the Constitution that he should not. This is Rodney Ebanks. This is the same one that was just arrested again the other day for masturbating on a public beach watching kids, right? Remember him? He is a prolific. I hope that this time when Rodney Ebanks goes to jail, they need to put him under the same thing that they've done with the Barnes fella, where you can't come out. You're going to be locked up pretty much for life because he is beyond prolific, right? So he tried to argue before the appeal court that a sexual harm prevention order imposed on him somehow went against his human rights. And the Court of Appeal said, no. Contravened his human rights. You can believe it. And was also tantamount to an undue penalty. Really, dude. These lawyers, why they can argue some BS. But he's offended so many times. So I'd like to see such an order, actually. So this guy, the provisions for Ebanks's order is that he's not allowed to go to any residence or premise between 7 p.m. and 6 a.m. without an invitation from the resident or a lawful reason for being there. He cannot loiter around any such property. He has to notify the police commissioner in writing and at least 3 days in advance that he's going to be leaving the Cayman Islands for at least 14 days and include details of location and accommodations. Because some of these guys, believe it or not, I guess can still travel. And they might start to go overseas and molest people's children overseas. He must notify the police commissioner in writing in advance any applications for any identity documents. So he's like trying to change a name, do a deed poll or whatever. His lawyer, Lawrence Iolfi, was arguing that it was excessive. Really. And that it was a breach of his human rights. I mean, this guy's been he's been in jail for rape, burglary, attempted rape. He's just all over the place. Gross indecency, indecent assault, burglary with intent to commit rape. I'll see if I can find out more about these sexual protection orders. You know, they should include things like they shouldn't be within so many feet of a primary school or any school, really. That sort of thing. Good morning, Tommy. Irvin says until they up the sentencing time, this dog will not stop. give them life. This is where you need to talk to your elected officials, folks. Tracy says, we still don't have a sex offenders list. No, we do not. Many cases are dismissed and the offenders get a slap on the wrist and the victims have a life sentence for what happened to them. And if not counseling, they have a high chance of continuing the cycle of abuse. We also need free counseling or have the abuser pay for fees for their victims. Unfortunately, most abusers will not have the money, but maybe we need to start confiscating assets if they have any. So Gabby, Damien wonders if we can't make a deal with somebody else to take our prisoners. Sex offenders and murderers should be kept overseas. Well, as you can see, we do have a deal with the UK for some of the more serious individuals. However, it appears that even they are claiming that that's in contravention of their human rights, and they now want to come back home. We'll see what the Court of Appeal does, but I don't know. Hello, Miss Romelia. All right, so let's talk about the press conference yesterday. It was short, sweet, and to the point. Some restrictions have been lifted, so let's talk about what those are. So what we have, some of the amendments. I'm going to share this from the Premier's his Facebook page, actually, because this is a quite a useful graphic. So travel. I think most of you want to know, how is this going to impact my travel? And here you go. Here's what we're looking at. Goes into effect today. Regulations were signed off on, I guess, yesterday. Removes post-arrival testing. So you know the day 2, 5, and 7. For anyone who can be securely verified and vaccinated. So securely verifiable vaccinated travelers. So if you're not vaccinated, well, too bad for you. Please do note that the pre-arrival testing requirement, which you have to do a day before arrival, is still in place. That's good. Because, you know, you don't want to be putting people on a plane knowing that they're positive to infect other people. Quarantine for unvaccinated persons is reduced to 7 days instead of 10. So someone was asking about Jamaica and the Philippines, I believe, and other countries which remain below that 60% threshold. What is going to be their situation? Well, it's quite clear, folks. They're not verifiable vaccinated travelers. So everybody has to do the pre-arrival testing, and they're still going to have to quarantine for 7 days. No testing for inter-island domestic travel for vaccinated travelers. So that's going back to the position that we were in before. I think the big outbreak in the BRAC with Omicron and so on. So this is a bit of good news. Because, you know, there are those of us who are still not going to travel to the US and other places quite yet. But, you know, we can take a little staycation on the BRAC. By the way, I had a dream last night about shopping in the States and going to the mall. It was very, very detailed. Oh my God. Now, you know, poor me, I'm overdue for a trip, long time. And my little brain was dreaming about being in a mall. And I was in a jewelry store. I feel like the mall, although it wasn't quite laid out the same way, it was a combination of like two malls in my in my sleep. It was a combination of West Shore Mall, which I don't even know if that still exists in Tampa. Is West Shore Mall still around? And Aventura Mall in Miami. And because the parking area, like where I parked and whatever, that was a visual from Tampa. That was not Miami. But then when I went inside, the layout was more akin to like the Miami Aventura Mall. Anyway, child, in my dream, I went to the jewelry store and I was looking at all sorts of fancy diamonds. I ain't got no diamond money, but I was sure window shopping. I was like, ooh, these are so pretty. And then I went to like the leather and handbag store. I feel like I was by myself, but there was a woman there that I ran into that I knew from Cayman. And I was like, what are you doing here? My dreams, listen, when I dream, I can tell you, if I remember the dream, because I do dream a lot. I feel like I dream every single night, really. But if I can remember the dream, they are very, very, very detailed and vibrant, full color. I can remember what people were wearing and what they were. I mean, it was just like that kind of detail. Those are dreams I have all the time. Very vivid. Anyway, and at some point my daughter was in the dream as well. So I woke up this morning. I said, guess what I was dreaming about? She's like, oh, tell me. She dreams a lot as well. My husband claims that he never dreams. I'm like, who doesn't dream? Oh my gosh, Carol, you've been to West Shore Mall? I've not been there in years. Let me not start talking about the mall, child, because then I really want to take a trip somewhere. They had redone it many years ago. I feel like when I was leaving Tampa that they were redoing it. Every so often they kind of renovate these malls and stuff, make them more modern. And so, you know, I think after they put that other mall in New Tampa, I forget what it's called now, but after they put that up, West Shore started to look a little bit dull. So I think that they needed to just spruce things up a bit to be competitive. So they did a massive redesign of the mall. Oh my gosh, I'm looking at some pictures online. Did they have an AMC theater when I was there? I kind of don't feel like they did. When did they do this? Hold on. I'm reading an article saying that West Shore Plaza owners closes all of its malls, offers its real estate to government agencies to use for testing sites and supply distribution. This is 2020. Oh, this was during the pandemic. Well, hopefully they've reopened. So the company that owns West Shore Mall is closing 44 of its malls with large indoor areas temporarily. Wow. International Plaza, I think that's the one that I'm thinking of. I've only been there like a handful of times because that was built after I left Tampa. So there used to be a mall. Now you guys, if you're old school, so this would be like maybe Anne and Jan and people like that, like the old school people, the original Caymanians back in the day, back in the 80s, that used to go to Tampa. You might remember a mall called East Lake. I think it was called East Lake Center or something, or East Lake Mall or something in Tampa. I mean, this was a long time ago. That mall has since been knocked down and done away with even before I left. When I moved there I moved to Tampa, I think it was like the mid 80s. That mall was already very much on the decline. And oh my God, look at this. It was already on the way out, but look at this. This is so amazing. I found a screenshot of an article dating back to 1976 of when the mall opened. Obviously, I wasn't there then. 2 Tampa malls open. This was the Tampa Tribune and the Tampa Times. Wow, that's what it used to be called. So, yeah, wow. So this is when it opened. I never even knew when it opened. Remember Montgomery Ward? That was a store at East Lake Square. Oh my God. This brings back some memories. The East Lake Concourse. I don't think Montgomery Ward even exists anymore as a franchise. I mean, as a store, it just doesn't exist. Tampa Bay Center Mall. I don't remember that one. I guess that was all part of the same area. So amazing. Combined total of close to 1 to 2 million square feet of shopping space opening in Tampa on consecutive days. East Lake Square Mall. Yep, that was it. Amazing. Anyway, by the time I got there in the 80s, that mall was already on the decline. And it was more of a, I feel like malls go through, my God, look at the black and white photos. I feel like malls go through a bit of a, there's a Costco there now. Oh, those Costco shopping trips. Oh, I was going to say, is there a Costco there? I don't know what they've done with that space, but malls go through a bit of a history. So they're brand new, flashy, whatever. But when they're in the decline, a lot of times they make them, like, I guess the rent becomes a lot cheaper. And so you have a lot of stores that are like, you know, they're okay stores, but you go there if you want to find some cheap stuff and whatever. So the mall has a totally different feel to it. It becomes, I don't want to say an outlet mall, because some outlet malls, especially in Orlando, they're still like top class outlet malls. Like they're still really, really nice. But they do start to decline and they become like a discount mall kind of thing. And the large anchor stores tend to have like discount centers at those. So they'll send like all their old stuff that nobody else wants to those locations and that sort of thing. So when I started, I feel like in the late 80s and early 90s, that's where East Lake Mall probably was. And it's, you know, and its history. But yeah, it's disappeared. I don't remember when they knocked it down, but I feel like it was done even before I left. So listen, 3 major department stores, Montgomery Ward, Belk Lindsay. I remember that store name. I don't remember what they had in it, but I felt like my aunt probably shopped there. And J.C. Penney. So Belk Lindsay and Montgomery Ward, I feel like they've been long gone. J.C. Penney's, didn't they file for chapter something protection? They're barely hanging on by a thread. Sears, I think, is barely hanging on by a thread. West Buffalo between Hines and Dale Mabry, Tampa Bay Center. Oh, okay. So this is interesting because Westlake Mall, where I lived, was like, I think, kind of north of us. And Tampa Bay Center was like in the opposite direction. But Tampa Bay Center survived a lot longer, I think, because it was closer to Dale Mabry, probably. That one survived a lot longer than Westlake Center or East Lake Center, East Lake Square Mall. Because East Lake Square Mall disappeared, I want to say, even before I went to university. Tampa Bay Center kind of hung around a little bit. And then because of Tampa Bay's location to the stadium for the football team, I believe now that has all been taken up as part of the expansion for the stadium. I think that's now like stadium parking or something. So eventually that mall disappeared. So East Lake and Tampa Bay Center, I never knew that. They both opened the same day pretty much in, it looks like August of 1976. Wow. 10 closed Florida malls you once shopped at. There's an actual website about this. This is amazing. Anyway, let me stop going down memory lane for a second and get back on track. I will review this in my own time. Burlington Coat Factory, Daytona Mall. I've heard of Daytona Mall. I don't feel like I've ever been there. But Daytona Mall opened in 1973. East Lake Square Mall. Wow, the design of malls back then was even different. It's amazing. Anyway, they're both gone now. So interesting. Back to our regulations, folks. You guys got to catch me when I start to go down memory lane. You got to be like, Sandy, stop it. I'm overdue a trip to Tampa, I think, is a problem. I know, right? Now I'm a big time Amazon shopper. You can't hardly tell me about a mall. I'm like, what do I want to go to a mall for? I do like the big box stores. So like the Sam's Club and Costco, I do kind of still like to walk around in those. I don't mind walking around a mall, but I can find everything on Amazon. Clothes, though, I still like to shop for clothes the traditional way, I must say, because I want to feel the material and pull it over and kind of see how it's going to fit. Although Amazon now has a thing, it doesn't work for us here in the Cayman Islands, but Amazon has a thing where you can try an item on, and if it doesn't fit, they send you the return box or whatever, and you just return it to them. So they have some kind of try before you purchase sort of deal. So they'll send it to you, and then you try it on and decide if you want to send it back. Quarantine reduced to 7 days for unvaccinated persons. No testing for intra-island domestic travel. Gathering limits has now been increased to 500 persons indoors and 1,000 persons outdoors, including sporting venues. This is good because we got a football match coming up this weekend, I believe, tomorrow. Check it out. The women's team is playing. So your Sunday boat cruises are back. Y'all partiers will like that. So boat capacity is now increased to 500 persons, subject to carrying capacity, of course. And the testing and vaccination requirements have been lifted to attend the gym. So those of you who go to the gym, there you go. Get ready for the metaverse malls, says Tracy. All right, so folks, that's where we're at. We got news that the 2,000 doses of the child's vaccine is also available now on island. If you have a child and you are considering, getting them vaccinated, of course, speak to your primary physician and, make a decision based on good medical advice. Yeah. Okay, good folks. Do we have anything else pressing that we need to talk about today? I always put tons of stuff on the list of what I want to discuss, but then inevitably we always run out of time. Thank you, Tracy, for reminding us that tomorrow the Alex Panton Foundation is hosting the mental health conference at the Ritz. We didn't get an invite to this event, so I don't know if it was by invite only, because I saw something, but then I don't know exactly how it works. We haven't actually received anything from them in terms of correspondence. So maybe we need to do the reaching out. I feel like they have someone. Before I say that, let me double check something, because I do feel like they have someone who sends out press releases for them. But like events and stuff, we never really hear anything about. I think it's because they're partnering with the Compass. So yes, they have. Okay, so they sent us something on the 11th highlighting mental health support and resources. We did get that, but we haven't received anything else from them since. So this is from Tower Marketing. So I think maybe we'll reach out to Tower. All right. Kevin says that they have now sent us something because he reached out to them as well. So they send us press releases, but Yeah. Okay. So West Shore Mall is still there, just down the street from International Mall. International Mall is the big one that they built after I left Tampa. Oh, okay. Awesome. Yes. Okay. So we will actually stream the event live as well. Can they send us? Yes, it's very close to the airport. I feel like I've only been to that mall. Because when was that mall built? That mall was built since I moved back, obviously, to the Cayman Islands. But I feel like I've only been there maybe twice. When I visited at Tampa, I've been like maybe twice. I remember it just being really, really beautiful. I was like, oh, wow, they've done a great job with the International Mall. So some of these name brands, like the Capitol Grill, like some of these stores I know nothing about because they've come up since I left Tampa. Obviously, Cheesecake Factory is still a good anchor store to have. Like all the major malls now want like a big name, like a Cheesecake Factory is an anchor restaurant. So yeah, maybe I'm overdue a travel trip soon. I got to plan it in my head though, because with COVID, I'm still a little bit. And my daughter has never been. Speaking of which, I need to renew all her passports and whatever, but she has not been to America. She keeps thinking. The other day, she said the funniest thing. She's like, is Miami and your Amy sisters? And I just had to burst out laughing. I was like, what? Because I always, from the first time she heard me say, oh, I'm going to Miami, like I'm going to go to Miami for the day I'm coming back. She's like, you're in your Amy? I said, no, Miami. You're Amy. I'm like, no, it's Miami. You're Amy. So I still can't get it out of her head that the proper name is just Miami. There's no you're Amy. So the other day she's like, okay, so you have your Amy and I have Miami. Are they sisters? I was just like, oh my God, that is so funny. So she's never been. So I feel like I need to plan a trip. Maybe I need to go to Miami is not my favorite city, I must tell you. Orlando's okay if you really feel like you need to go to Disney or shopping or whatever, but I'm not so sure I want to be around that many people. So West Shore Plaza actually opened in 1967. Wow. A lot of these malls were open for a really long time. See, I remember this. It says West Shore Plaza announced plans for a dramatic expansion beginning in 1997. And I had just moved back to the Cayman Islands in 96. I think I came back, which is basically the beginning of the end of Tampa Bay Center. They were not that far from each other, to be honest. So yeah, when did Tampa Bay Center close? Oh my God. Do you guys remember this store called Birdine's? Oh my God. I remember them. In June of 1998, Birdine's announced that they were leaving Tampa Bay Center, due both to building a new Citrus Park store, as well as building a store just a few miles, having a store at West Shore. Wow. Huh. I don't think Birdine's exists anymore. Birdine's closed in 1999, their Tampa Bay Center store, in favor of opening one at the new Citrus Park Town Center. There has always been an expansion of, okay, you guys know, if you're from the Tampa area, you know, Brandon, what's the big mall in Brandon that opened up? I feel like that one was built in the late 90s as well. When I first moved to Tampa in the 80s, the mid 80s, that whole area where Brandon, what is it called? Brandon Mall or whatever. That was nothing but country. It wasn't even country. It was nothing but bush. There was nothing out there. And I only know that because I had to be bused from, oh God, what part of Tampa would my aunt? I don't know exactly, but she's off of 34th and what used to be Buffalo, but then they changed the name to MLK, right? So she was in that area. I had to be bused from there. It's like an hour plus bus drive, like it was serious interstate driving, all the way out to Brandon, out to the school that I went to. I forget what the elementary school is called, but it was just bush. I'd be staring out the window looking at the cows. I had to get up so early in the morning to get up for school, and especially when it was cold and you had to wait out by the bus stop. And it's like, listen, for that school, my aunt was like, don't, and that was my first school that I went to. You can't miss the bus because then it would take her an hour to drive me to school. So I had to get up really, really early. When I went to Chamberlain High School, if I missed the bus, well, I was a little bit closer. For 7th grade, my junior high school, I could actually walk a lot of times to school. It was a couple miles, but I would walk it and whatever. But yeah, that is so crazy. That is just absolutely crazy. Burdines. Wow. So they were chain of department stores operating in the state of Florida, headquartered in Miami. And they lasted for 17 years. Hold on. It says they were renamed. So the historic Burdines building in downtown Tampa became the flagship store and one of Macy's primary stores until its closure. Wow. That's interesting. Huh. Very, very interesting. But I remember the name Burdines. They were in Dadeland Mall, Tampa Bay Center, Pembroke Pines, Brandon Town Center. Really? Okay, Seminole Town Center and Sanford and Orlando metropolitan area. They celebrated their 100th anniversary in 1996. Well, they're long gone now. So, I don't know. When did they close? So, So they continue to operate as a Macy's unit until it was closed in March of 2018. Interesting. Ross Stores leased the building in 2019 and are redeveloping it to relocate. They just disappeared. Soon, this will be like, I'm talking about Burdines. You guys are like, who the heck is Burdines? That's going to be Sears in probably another 25 years. All those kids growing up now will be like, who's Sears? Who's JCPenney's? The world of retail. Everybody's going to know Amazon. El Ray says, no, Sandy, you run out of time. We need to keep you in line with her. I know. I go down these mental trips. All right. Gabby. Tin of corned beef is almost $5. Shall, can we talk about it next week? Brianna says, if you take the full dose of vaccine in Cayman, but off island for 6 months in Jamaica, do you still have to quarantine when you get back? No. Because I think you keep, probably regardless of how long you're gone, although for your own benefit, you probably want to get boosted, but you do keep the vaccine for where you got vaccinated. Was there a limit on that? I'd had that question before, and I know the short answer is no. Anne remembers Burdines, see? Says, I loved Burdines. Natasha remembers it too. I don't really remember like being in the store, but I definitely remember the name. Emma says, Miami is so nasty now. Hotels, malls, streets, even people. I feel like Miami has always had a very different vibe than Tampa. Like Tampa's always been more low key in a way. Ybor City, they did a whole revitalization of Ybor City. So Macy's has gone downhill. Macy's used to be like the store for the ultra rich and people who had money to spend. Yeah, I don't even remember. I just remember that I feel like my aunt used to shop there, and I've definitely been in a few Burdine stores, but I can't even remember. There's so many stores that have come and gone. There's one called Units. I actually used to work at a Units. back in the day, and they had very interesting clothing. Like all of their clothing pretty much was like solid colors, and then you'd put the colors together, and they sold things like scarves and belts, and you could mix and match, and you could. So we always had to like upsell to our customers when they came in, to buy. You know, it's called units. It's called units. What about the other one? You guys actually had one of these stores in the Cayman Islands. It was called Bennington. They didn't seem to last very long, but remember that was like the thing back in the day? Yes. Y'all had one of those here. That was a big deal. It's kind of like the sunglasses. What sunglasses were popular with the colored lenses? Revos. Are Revos even still around? I feel like they were hot. Like everybody, that was a fashion statement. Everybody had to have a pair of Revos. And you can get them in all different colors. There was the blue, there was the green, there was, you know, all these colors. I don't even know if they're still around. And then, well, they still have a website. They made some of the better polarized sunglasses, though, I must tell you. But I guess the colored lenses are no longer, they look like they're still around a little bit. Ooh, child, and they're so expensive too. $329 for a pair. So they're available at all these stores like Nordstrom's, Dick's Sporting Goods, Ron John. Okay, they still seem to be hanging around. Not quite what they used to be. They do seem to have some colored lenses still, though. Revo Black. For a minute, I also worked in sunglasses in the mall. Like I worked for a sunglass hut or whatever it's called. And boy, I learned more about sunglasses than I ever needed to know, including how cheap they are to actually make. And then the markup on sunglasses is absolutely ridiculous. They make a lot of money off of a sunglasses made in China for like $299. You're going to pay $300-$400 for it. But we were so happy to sell them to you. Trust me. Anyway, folks, Irvelyn says, how soon after you recover from COVID can I get a booster shot? 1 month is what Dr. Newton said on Monday. Natasha says, Birdine's anchored Aventura Mall until it closed and converted into Macy's. Really? You see, I never really lived in Miami, so I only became a little bit more familiar with Miami once I actually moved back to the Cayman Islands, because it's just easier to fly into. You know, I could go in the morning, come back at night, or I could do a quick weekend trip, or it's a lot easier to fly in and out of Miami from here than Tampa. Lived in almost every piece of furniture, accessories, etc. in my house came from Birdine's. Really? That's interesting. Huh. Delcy remembers working at Bennington. You worked there? Really? That is so cool. Natasha still has 4 pairs of Revos. Are you kidding? Well, they do last. Well, I guess. Gucci and Coach all used to be in Cayman. You guys had a Gucci and Coach store too? You see, I feel like when I moved back, I came back in 96. Like a lot of stuff was, I think the Bennington store might have still been here for like another year or so, but I don't know about Taco Bell being here. I heard that there was a Taco Bell, and I kind of know where it was. Where Captain's Bakery is, I think, is what I was told. But I don't remember Taco Bell being here. So there's a lot of stuff that I missed because I was gone for 15 years. And then, you know, when I came back, there was like, I guess, different type of retail development and stuff going on as well. But yeah, isn't that amazing? Aliano says he prefers Oakley. You know which glasses I used to like? Oh, Lord, can I remember the name of them now? They always had like a rose-colored tint to the lens. Oh, boy. I bet you I might still have a pair around here somewhere. I liked oh, gosh. I feel like it began with an S. See if I can remember sunglass brands. Oh, not Ray-Ban, Oakley's, Carrera. Huh. Warby Parker. They're new to me. I don't even know who the heck they are. Randolph Engineering. No. Oh man. I cannot remember. I'm going to try to remember the name. I feel like it begins with an S. Huh. Man, I can't remember now. But they were a little bit more traditional styles and stuff. Like they only make sunglasses. Like I don't know. For me, people, when you have like Tiffany and Company making sunglasses, yes, I get it that they're a designer and I guess they can make anything they want. Dolce and Gabbana. I'm like, to me, they're fashion lenses. Like they don't tend to have the best quality lenses in the world because you're paying for the name more than anything else. So, Prada and all these people, I'm like, like I want a serious sunglass company. And the one that I can't think of right now, they were like one of the top ones at the time. But again, I feel like nobody even knows them anymore. Anyway, if I remember the name, I'll let you guys know. All right, folks. Ray-Bans, not Ray-Bans. No, not Silhouettes. No, they were called, oh man, this is going to bother me now until I can actually remember. Anybody worked at the sunglass places that might remember? Not Kenneth Cole. Nope. Everybody gets into sun. Look at all these sunglass companies. Skechers Eyewear. They're a shoe company, for God's sake. But everybody, Jimmy Choos. Hello, if you make shoes, like I'm like, don't make sunglasses for me. But everybody wanted to get into the business because there's good money. Believe it or not, there's a huge markup in the world of sunglasses. Serengeti. I don't think it was Serengeti's. Not Silhouette. Silhouette, they're like new. Like I don't even know who they are. Juicy Couture. All these people make sunglasses now? What? Nope. All right. Not Maui's. Everybody's trying to think. Which one is it, Sandy? Oh gosh, my sinuses. All right. When I remember, and I feel like I still have a pair. That's why I think I'm going to go dig them out of the closet. I will let you guys know on Monday. All right. I'll think of it. I'm sure of that at some point. Oh God, I feel like it's on the tip of my brain, not my tongue really, but hold on. Anyway, I'll try to figure it out. They're probably still around in some form or another. Vintage sunglasses. I don't think they'd be considered vintage. Anyway, when I remember it next week, I'll let you guys know. All right, folks. That's it. Let me see. What else did we have? We talked about the new COVID regulations. You guys saw how they explained the stipend situation yesterday. They cleaned that up. You got your ex-gratia payment updates, pediatric vaccines. Oh, the return of cruise ships seems to be pending. The Minister of Tourism wouldn't say anything official yesterday, but I told you guys I had heard through the Mall Road. I'd heard that March, I want to say March 27th or something like that is what I have heard, not from any official sources, but that's what I've heard through the grapevine. So what I would say is, I guess, stay tuned. As the minister kept saying yesterday, watch this space, because I feel like there's so many more developments to come. Not Maui's. No. Is it Serengeti? Hold on. I think it's Serengeti's, Now, if you guys don't know these, they were, I think this is the one that I'm thinking of. They made a lot of excellent sunglasses. Let me show you. I kind of think this is them. Yep. Serengeti's. Amoya was close. She said Serengeti. It's Serengeti's. Yes. So I used to do a lens like, kind of like this. Like I feel like I have a couple like this that I always used to do. They did some colored lenses back in the day as well. But I loved this particular lens, which is like their traditional look. I loved this lens because it just made the world look good. I don't even know what it's called. Well, I mean, it just gave life a certain rosiness to it. So I would normally do those over like the grayish looking ones. Serengeti's. Yes, that's them. I used to love these sunglasses. I had a couple pairs back in the day. Like, I don't even know if they're around anymore. They're probably not. I feel like I've had this pair. I like a lens like this. So there you go. I knew it would come to me. Serengeti's. Yep. 1990s. That was the time that I could afford sunglasses. I don't think I can afford them anymore. And then, when you wear glasses, after I had my LASIK surgery, I was all into like buying glasses and whatever. Because then I didn't have to get them like, put in, because certain frames you can't really put in prescription lenses in. It makes your life more complicated. All right, Brianna and Joseph, thank you guys so much for tuning in this morning. And also thank you for going down memory lane a little bit with me. You guys have a wonderful and safe weekend. The weather looks like it's going to be pretty decent. I'm going to say probably a 10% chance of rain. I never look at the weather unless something's really going on. So this is just my prediction. I think the weather is going to be gorgeous this weekend. We've got the national team that is playing. So let me give you some details on this event. Please go out and support your sporting events. I know y'all love to go out and party and drink and hang out at the bar and do all this other stuff, but go out and support sports, especially women's sports. Let me see if I have this one handy. Anyway, there's a match tomorrow. You can get tickets at Event Pro. Now that they have, the restrictions lifted, you should not have any issues being able to go out there and buy yourself a ticket and go cheer in person. Right? I don't know if it's going to be televised or live streamed anywhere. I was trying to find out. But yes, go and support our women and men footballers doing a fantastic job. Lots of people. Make sure that these games go off without a hitch. The Cayman Islands Football Association, big shout out to them. So this is the Cayman Islands versus the Dominican Republic. And it's actually a CONCACAF qualifier game. So let me stick it up on the screen here because I think this is fantastic to go out and support, especially the women's team. There it is. It's going to be the 19th, which is tomorrow, 3 p.m. at the Truman Bodden Sports Complex. And again, you can get your tickets online at Event Pros or Event Pro. Anyway, one or the other. Go and purchase your ticket. Support the national teams. Support women. Support men football. And you guys have a fantastic weekend on that note. I don't know what else is going on, but I know this event is happening. All right, good folks. Thank you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Safe weekend. See you on Monday.
Thank you for tuning in to another edition of The Cold Hard Truth. Make sure to check Facebook for showtimes and more information and the latest news at CaymanMarlRoad.com. Subscribe to our IG and Facebook pages to get the latest happenings.